Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're covering another 2024 NFL mock draft. This class is absolutely loaded full of talent, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more NFL draft content. Jumping into the first overall pick, we have Arizona. Arizona's in a prime position here with this draft. You will see Caleb Williams come off the board from USC, a super smart and talented quarterback who has terrific arm strength, accuracy, athleticism. He's all of the above. He checks the boxes, and he's got a really good mental capacity for the game. This guy is going to be transformational for this franchise and is exactly who should be the leader of this team. Now we are assuming a Kyler Murray trade. So to me, this makes a lot of sense for Arizona trying to hit the reset button on this franchise. Following it at number 2, we have Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is going to have probably a pretty tough year considering the quarterback situation. And we have Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. Uber talented wide receiver. It would, despite their current weapons, having Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I think there's room for a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. He's a transformational player, a likely Hall of Fame candidate at the end of his career. You do not want to pass up on a guy this special, this talented. You look at his contested catches, route running, yards after catch. He is everything that you want in a wide receiver, and that's why Tampa Bay does not shy away at number 2. Following that up at number 3, we have Arizona, Olu Fashanu, who is a tremendous tackle. You look at his pass protection, everything is what you need it to be. Arizona is going to be looking to reconstruct this entire offense. Holistically speaking, why not grab a franchise left tackle who will be a cornerstone for your team for a decade plus, in my opinion. He has this level of talent. In the run game, super exciting to watch as well. He can absolutely pancake guys. Together, I think that the Caleb Williams and the Fashanu pick make a lot of sense. At number 4, we have the Chicago Bears. Chicago is getting even better at the edge position. Jared Verse from Florida State. He's got a super powerful lower body. He's a bull rusher. This guy can absolutely run through opposing offensive linemen. Really sturdy base, strong upper body as well. He's one of the strongest players that we're going to have at that edge position in the class, and he's going to be a high impact player for Chicago, who put a lot of investment into that linebacker room. They've invested in their offensive line. So the trenches have been important for GM Ryan Pace. To me, that's why Jared Verse makes a lot of sense for this team. Following that up at number 5, we have the Indianapolis Colts. And for me, the development for Anthony Richardson is going to hinge on some of the playmakers. They have a really good running game, and you can follow that up here with Indianapolis going with Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is phenomenal against the press. You can put him in the slot. You can have him at the tight end position. There's so many different places you can move him. He beats man-to-man coverage consistently. He has steady hands, and the yards after the catch is also something that's fun to watch too. He's athletic, good catch radius. Indianapolis is in a prime position to try to build up a perennial contender. They're going to have to take some big swings in the draft, and Brock Bowers is one of those guys. He's been doing it ever since he's been a freshman at Georgia. Uber productive. The traits are there as well. This guy is going to be a Pro Bowl level tight end. So once again, we've seen so much talent already. I believe all 5 of these guys picked so far are going to be perennial Pro Bowlers, in my opinion. At number 6, we have the New England Patriots. Now, the New England Patriots, I have them going with quarterback Drake May. Now, I think when you look collectively at what New England is, I do not believe that Mac Jones is the answer. I look at them as a team that's trying to kind of reconfigure what their current identity is on offense. We know they're going to run the football effectively, but I think there's a quarterback that can really take them to that next level. To me, that's Drake May. You look at his arm strength, his athleticism, going to continue to work on some of the touch that he has on his balls. Overall, this is a good selection, in my opinion. A lot of people think that Drake May is a lock to potentially go number 2 in the draft, or at least top 3. I could see there being a little bit of a slide here, and New England jumping on a quarterback that could potentially change the franchise. Mac Jones has been serviceable. I think when you are a team in the AFC East, which is pretty loaded right now, if you're New England, you have to think about making some changes here. I think it probably starts at that quarterback position to retool, reconfigure the roster. At number 7, we have the Green Bay Packers. Joe Alt from Notre Dame is super impressive to watch on tape. Really awesome footwork. That is something that stands out. You look at his footwork and the pass protection. This guy is the true Notre Dame tackle. They have produced so many, such as Mike McGlinchey, over the last couple of years. Green Bay is going to be looking to build around Jordan Love, so you have to provide him with some protection. And I think Joe Alt is going to be a Pro Bowl level tackle. This guy can absolutely get the job done. He's as consistent as they come, and Green Bay is going to jump all over that. Number 8, we have the Chicago Bears. Kalen King from Penn State is a terrific zone corner, good ball skills. This guy has a really, really great feel for just general field awareness, and he's smart and he's tough. So all of those things are exactly what Chicago would be looking to add. You have Jalen Johnson already, Kyler Gordon as another guy who's likely going to be playing in the slot, and I think Kalen King is another terrific player. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he plays bigger than his current listed size. Kalen King is a fun prospect to watch and could be one of those extra pieces that you need on a back end. Sometimes if you have a lack of depth in the secondary, it can be detrimental, especially at that cornerback position. So just having a lot of guys that are able and willing, to me, makes all the difference in the world when building a team and trying to change the course of direction with where their trajectory was to where it's at now. They were in buy now mode, and they're going to be aggressive during the draft. This is a perfect spot for them to take Kalen King. At number 9, we have Tennessee. I have Dallas Turner. He is exactly what Mike Vrabel would be looking for in a edge rusher. Physical. The guy is great at the point of attack. Does a phenomenal job using his length to really disrupt the offensive lineman's pass protection. He's really good against the run. This guy can do it all. He's everything that you want from an edge defender. Tennessee is always looking to improve the trenches, and Dallas Turner's the latest rendition of that, latest example of getting a guy that's smart, physical, and tough up front on that defensive line. And you're going to see an uptick in production, in my opinion. We saw Will Anderson Jr. last year, and then now, moving ahead, Dallas Turner is going to be the real deal in Tennessee. At number 10, we have New Orleans, and New Orleans is kind of an interesting spot. You have Paulson Adebo, and you can add a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry as well. This is going to be a phenomenal secondary in New Orleans. You have Marshawn Lattimore already. Add in Kool-Aid McKinstry. Another guy that his ball skills absolutely flash on tape. A phenomenal zone coverage guy. Very capable in man-to-man, but excels a little more in zone. But Kool-Aid is as fun as they come in that secondary, and I think he's almost a lock at this point to be a top 10 selection. At number 11, we have the Commanders. Now, the Commanders, to me, are going to be looking to improve at the tackle spot. I think J.C. Latham, when you look at in totality of what he's been able to accomplish here at Alabama, J.C. is a tremendous player. He's very tough, he's physical, and he can get out into space, especially in the run game. I think this is kind of what Washington would be able to do moving forward. You have a lot of teams that are very aggressive in rushing the quarterback in the division. You have Dallas and Philly, and even the Giants as well like to apply some pressure. So J.C. Latham is perfect for this offensive line. He has the versatility of playing tackle and guard. To me, I love this pick. This one is a fun one for me. At number 12, we have the LA Rams, and the LA Rams go with Denzel Burke from Ohio State. Talk about a sticky man-to-man guy. He's able to get his head around on the football. Not going to be a guy that commits a ton of mistakes at that next level. As rock solid as they come at the cornerback position, I think I'm a little bit higher than other people are on him, but there are going to be some people that kind of turn the corner with him in his evaluation. And the Rams obviously moving on from Jalen Ramsey was big, and then now Denzel Burke from Ohio State is going to be one of those players that are going to be an impact guy in that secondary. And the Rams are going to see a little bit of a change here personnel-wise. They have to get better in that secondary. Number 13, we got the Raiders. Now the Raiders, I think there's some room for improvement at that cornerback position. Cooper DeJean from Iowa is one of those guys I have my eye on. He's an athletic cornerback, a guy that excels in man-to-man, phenomenal at pressing. I think the Raiders are going to be looking for an aggressive corner like Cooper DeJean, which continues to climb people's boards. He was one of those guys at Iowa that you could absolutely trust in that secondary. You knew that he was not going to give up a ton of yards on a per game basis. And to me, Cooper DeJean, his name is becoming more and more prevalent in the draft community. At number 14, we have the Houston Texans, Javon Bullard from Georgia, another guy that has a good feel for the run game. He's aggressive in that regard, very instinctual. And when I'm looking at the Texans, DeMeco Ryans is going to be one of those head coaches that is going to be slamming his hand on the table for more corner play. They already have Derek Stingley in place. Add in a guy like Javon Bullard who can do a lot of different things for you. You can line him up in the slot. You can line him up outside. He can do those things at the next level. And to me, Bullard is one of those players that you have to keep your eye on moving in towards the draft. This defense is going to be pretty good. They were stingy last year, compared to what people's expectations were for the roster. And Javon Bullard is one of those guys that Houston's going to have their eye on. Pick 15, we had the New York Giants, and no surprise here, JT Tuimoloau is one of the more aggressive edges in the entire class. He has a good feel for the run game, sturdy base, and is totally anchored at that edge spot. You are not going to be running the football on the Giants if you add him to this defensive line. I look in, collectively speaking, the Giants continue to build this defense up, and they continue to add more weapons on offense. They're moving in the right direction. Obviously, winning a playoff game last year was huge for their momentum, beating the Minnesota Vikings while the Vikings were at home. So a lot of credit to them. But the New York Giants continue to add up front and get a little bit tougher and more competitive in that regard. Tuimoloau is a fun player to watch. Ohio State is going to be very, very dominant. They have another first-round level edge that we'll talk about later. But, I mean, watch out in the college football realm. Ohio State's going to come to play next year. At number 16, we have the Baltimore Ravens. And Jerzon Newton from Illinois. This guy is a total anchor. He's a gap eater. Once again, another player that is one of the best run defenders in the entire class. It's no reason why, or he was a big reason why Illinois was so tough to run on last year. I just think that this is the perfect fit for Baltimore. They love to add some guys on the interior up front, and I don't think that changes here in the draft. A lot of times with this organization, they like to take best player available. Jerzon Newton has been climbing up people's boards, and I think that the Illinois product is the perfect fit into this system. At number 17, we have the LA Chargers. Now, this is somewhat controversial, but with the looming news on Austin Eckler and his future, TreVeyon Henderson from Ohio State, a guy that is going to have a super productive year next year. His yards per carry are going to be top amongst the national leaders. So I think when you're looking at the Chargers, you're looking at a guy for some toughness, who's going to be efficient running the football, but they're going to ask him to catch the football a ton next year, in my opinion. So TreVeyon Henderson is that guy that is going to fit in nicely. Who knows? Maybe they don't invest a first-round pick at the running back position, but I think there is a possibility that they do, especially with how talented he is in that first round. Number 18, we have the Denver Broncos. Chop Robinson out of Penn State. This is one of those guys that is going to see another uptick in production at Penn State this year. The defense is absolutely loaded. There's a lot of first-round level guys here for Penn State going into the year, and I think it's a true testament to this program and what they've been able to build over the last couple of seasons. Denver is going to have to replace Bradley Chubb in the long term, and Chop Robinson is going to be that guy, another rotational pass rusher that is going to do some big things for this team. In terms of production level, he will be up there, especially his rookie year. He's one of the more polished players that you'll see at the premium position of the edge spot. Number 19, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Aliotu Latu is the player here that we have to keep our eye on. Another guy that I think when you look schematically absolutely fits. He has some versatility at that edge spot. Super powerful. This guy is another run stopper at the edge spot. Atlanta continues to seek out more edge rushing help. They have a nice rotation of guys, but I think adding Latu is going to go a long ways in helping this team move forward. I like what they currently have on offense. Arthur Smith currently gets the best out of his guys. This is another potential quarterback landing spot, in my opinion, moving forward. But at this point in time, with how the quarterbacks fell, I opted to go with Latu. At number 20, we have the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks are a team that continues to impress. With the departure of Russell Wilson, there's a lot of question marks heading into last year, and I think most of those concerns were squashed. Now, I think they can get better up front, more specifically on the interior of that offensive line. Geno Smith should have a very productive year. They have a ton of playmakers to go to, 3 stud wide receivers, and Cooper Beebe is a player that would have been drafted in the first round last year had he not gotten hurt. He's going to have a big year once again for K-State. He's an important part of that running game and why Deuce Vaughn had as much success as he did in that system. Cooper Beebe is one of those guys that we have to continue to keep our eye on. At number 21, we have the Minnesota Vikings and Malachi Moore from Alabama. If you're talking about a team that's going to desperately need a corner next year, it's probably the Vikings. The Vikings have put themselves in an interesting spot looking at that position. Byron Murphy coming over from Arizona, but also the departure of Patrick Peterson, who had an awesome year last year. And then you have a combination of Andrew Booth Jr., Caleb Evans in that cornerback room. To me, Malachi Moore makes the most sense. A big-time playmaker. This guy has some short area quickness, good burst from that spot. To me, Malachi Moore is the perfect fit into the Brian Flores scheme. And at 21, the Vikings are going to be pretty desperate at the corner spot. So I think this upcoming draft, expect a lot of corners to go in the first round. At number 22, we have Jacksonville. Jacksonville, judging off of the current GM situation in Trent Baalke, he loves guys that are strong, sturdy, reliable at that edge spot. With the departure of Arden Key, I think this makes it a little more interesting as well. You have the looming extension of Josh Allen. They might have to, force their hand and take an edge, but a guy like Jack Sawyer, who has one of the best motors in the entire class, he's after it every single play. And Trent Baalke's track record suggests, with his time in San Francisco, his time in Jacksonville, he is looking for more edge rushing help. Trayvon Walker was a priority with the first overall pick. And then now I think they continue to go back to the well and take a guy like Jack Sawyer. At number 23, now this is a player that a lot of people expect to maybe even go earlier, but I just with how the board fell, Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State, smooth route runner, terrific after the catch. This guy's got strong, dependable hands. Pittsburgh is always in favor of drafting talent at that wide receiver position. With guys like George Pickens in the mix, add a guy like Egbuka as well, Deontay Johnson. This could be a terrific receiving trio moving forward. I love this for the Steelers. Getting a guy this talented this late in the draft, I think it's a no-brainer and a very obvious choice. Now at number 24, we have the Miami Dolphins, Javion Sanders from Texas. He is a true red zone threat. I think that is something that they're going to be looking for in their next tight end. You can line him up in the slot. He's a mismatch for linebackers, mismatch for corners. Collectively speaking, the Dolphins are just adding a tremendous player here that can vertically stretch the field, a good red zone threat, and reliable hands at that position, which I think they have to clearly address going into the draft. At number 25, we have the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be looking for a player that is a true playmaker. And I think Xavier Worthy, just having some familiarity with the area, there's going to be a lot of local eyes on him, but Worthy is going to be a big-time producer at 6'1". He's a super, he's going to be a very productive receiver, another guy that comes in and out of his routes very well. I mean, he's a phenomenal prospect to watch. I think he might actually climb some boards because you're going to see an uptick in productivity heading into next year. Once again, good solid hands. Dallas is going to be likely looking for another playmaker in this offense, and I think it's going to be Xavier Worthy. A lot of the local guys looking at him, it's going to just make a lot of sense. At number 26, we have the San Francisco 49ers, Troy Franklin. Talk about track speed, This guy can absolutely fly. I think when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, they're going to be looking for another guy to be able to take the top off the defense. You already have Ayuk and Deebo Samuel in place. I think they're going to be looking for some more vertical speed that they can really take the top off, and Troy Franklin is exactly that. We're going to see how it goes with Bo Nix this year. I could see some nice continuity there, continue to build with the chemistry, and he should be set up for a phenomenal season before entering the draft. At number 27, we have the New York Jets. The New York Jets are going to be looking for another playmaker at the wide receiver position. With Allen Lazard already in place, Garrett Wilson already in place, I think it makes sense to go with a guy like Michael Wilson, who is the true definition of an absolute beast of actual profile. Michael Wilson is 6'6", 6'7", absolutely can jump over anybody and make the contested catch. Him and Lazard are going to serve in similar roles, but Michael Wilson is going to make it to be a very, very tough mismatch for a lot of opposing defenses. But you look at it, I mean, who's going to be able to cover a guy as big as Lazard, as big as Michael Wilson? They're going to have to allocate one of their bigger corners for one of them, and the other one should have a huge height mismatch, in my opinion. Michael Wilson is going to be the product of Joe Douglas trying to get some more wide receivers in this room, some guys that can be productive with Aaron Rodgers potentially in the future. So that's why I see them making that move. Florida State should have a tremendous year this year. I could see it. I definitely can. And Michael Wilson is going to be a big reason why. At number 28, we have the Detroit Lions. Mason Smith from LSU is going to be a game changer up the middle for the Detroit Lions, who suffered tremendously on the defensive side of the ball last year. Aaron Glenn had his fair share of issues, but I think you have to believe in what Detroit's building. They're going to make sure that they address the run game, and Mason Smith is exactly what that can be. He's an athletic defensive tackle, stout against the run, and is a seamless fit into this Detroit Lions defense. At number 29, we have the Buffalo Bills. Rome Odunze is one of those players that can absolutely fly. He's got the 6'3" frame. He's once again a very good route runner for his size, and I think this is going to be very helpful for the Bills. They got to continue to add to that side of the ball. Stephon Diggs is a major factor in this offense, but I think there's got to be a little bit more oomph for this team, and Rome is exactly what they're looking for. The Buffalo Bills on the brink of Super Bowl contention. I think they're another receiver away from being that top dog in the AFC potentially. Now, there's a couple of other teams that are close here in that regard. Speaking of, we have the Cincinnati Bengals with Raheem Sanders. Now, with Raheem Sanders, some people might say, well, hold on a second. They have Joe Mixon. We just saw what happened to Dalvin Cook. I think there is a real possibility Joe Mixon and the Cincinnati Bengals do end up parting ways either before this season starts or at the end of next year. I'm making a little bit of a projection here on how that'll go, just because they're going to have to cut some money out because they have some guys to pay, and that's just the reality of the business. So Raheem Sanders is going to be a super productive back for the Cincinnati Bengals. To me, this makes a lot of sense post Joe Mixon. At number 31, we have the defending Super Bowl champs. Michael Harrison from Ohio State is my pick here. Kansas City is going to look to get better up front. An athletic defensive tackle who can get after the quarterback, super energetic in that regard, but also is very competitive against the run. Kansas City will continue to build this defense. Their offense is going to be good once again this year, but defensively they are always in favor of adding more pieces. Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, and with the Philadelphia Eagles, I have Malik Nabers from LSU. Nabers is one of those guys that I think is going to be a huge beneficiary of another year of Jaden Daniels. Oh, man, he's exciting. He's super fun to watch, and I think LSU is going to utilize him a ton this year. Primarily a running offense. They should open up the pass game a little bit more. Another year under Daniels' belt, and I think Malik Nabers can be that guy that is going to be a true difference maker heading into the season. Philadelphia gets to add another wide receiver on top of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Malik Nabers is a true game changer, in my opinion. The wide receiver position, you're going to see a run on them at the end of the first, and it's very obvious here with Nabers going at pick 32. Thanks again, everybody, for stopping by and checking out the channel. Hope you subscribe so you can stick around for more NFL draft content. Had a lot of fun making this video. Let me know in the comment section below what team you're pulling for, and I will go ahead and make sure to cover them a little more extensively in the next video. Thanks again for stopping by. We'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.